We say today's beauty standards are toxic, but they have actually always been toxic, and I mean very toxic. I was writing the script to one video about African girls being encouraged to shave their head, when I suddenly remembered being taught about the various cultures in Africa and their idea of beauty. Like the Jaluo, a Western Nilotic group found in Kenya and Uganda, who had to take off their 6 lower teeth due to initiation to adulthood as well as beauty. And there is this community that will insert rings into their mouth to widen them, as that was their symbol of beauty, and so many more. So let us yap about this. There is this thing called Lotus Feet, which were very prevalent in China. Basically, small feet were admired in late imperial China and seen as a status symbol. And so what they would do was they would break and bind the feet of young Chinese girls in order to change their size and shape. They called this lotus feet as they resembled the bark of a lotus plant. And the shoes made for these feet were called lotus shoes. In some areas, foot binding raised marriage prospects. It has been estimated that by the 19th century, 40 to 50% of all Chinese women may have had bound feet, rising to almost 100% among upper-class Han Chinese women. Frontier ethnic groups such as Turkestanis, Manchus, Mongols, and Tibetans generally did not practice foot binding. It is believed that the practice is likely to have originated during the reign of the 10th century Emperor Li Yu of the southern Tang, just before the Song dynasty. Li Yu created a 1.8 meter tall golden lotus decorated with precious stones and pearls. He then asked his concubine Yao Niang to bind her feet in white silk into the shape of the crescent moon. She then performed a dance on the points of her bound feet on the lotus. Yao Niang's dance was said to be so graceful that others sought to imitate her. The binding of feet was then replicated by other upper-class women and the practice spread, but it was painful. The earliest archaeological evidence for foot binding dates to the tombs of Huang Sheng, who died in 1243 at the age of 17, and Madame Zhou, who died in 1274. Each woman's remains showed feet bound with gauze strips measuring 1.8 meters in length. Zhou's skeleton, particularly well preserved, showed that her feet fit into the narrow pointed slippers that were buried with her. The style of bound feet found in Song dynasty tombs, where the big toe was bent upwards, appears to be different from the 3-inch golden lotus of later eras. The more severe form of foot binding may have developed in the 16th century. So basically, this started as what seems like a fetish from the emperor. And because people tend to aspire to climb up the social ladder, many started emulating. And remember, the slave girl had no choice, so she was practically forced to bind her feet and others followed. And then it became like an unspoken requirement to have in order to get married, and at those times, women had no say. This seems like torture. Another beauty standard which I imagine can be painful but is enchanting and mesmerizing to look at is the lip plates in the Mursi and Surma tribes of the Omo Valley in Ethiopia. These two tribes put lip plates on their lips. This beauty regime is tied into rites of passage, identity, and local ideas of beauty or status. It marks the transition into womanhood and readiness for marriage. Also, depending on how large the plate was, it showed how far and capable a woman was ready to endure hardship. The lip plate, called the Debi or Tugoin in Mursi, is traditionally inserted when a girl reaches puberty, typically around 15 to 16 years old. An incision would be made in the center of the lower lip, using a razor or sharp knife. Then a small wooden peg is inserted to keep the cut open. This would stretch over time to accept clay or wooden plates, and how large the plate would be would depend on how large the woman wants it to be. It was also used to measure the amount of cattle a woman would get in bride price depending on how large the lip plate was. Even in Europe, people went so far to achieve these beauty standards. I will mention a few. Let us start with the tapeworm diet, where it was done to achieve skinniness. Europeans in the 19th century thought that by ingesting tapeworm eggs or larvae or buying tapeworm pills would help them lose weight because the parasite consumes nutrients. There was this celebrity legend who popularized this, and her name was Maria Callas. Skinny was very much in back in the Victorian era, and Maria claimed to have lost a lot of weight due to consuming tapeworm pills, though this was later confirmed as hoax. However, this diet went on for a while with people taking tapeworm eggs and larvae to achieve this look. Also, even tight corsets that restricted breathing and affect organs that were very popular during that era. The Japanese, on the other hand, used to bleach their skin with white lead because pale skin was and is still a beauty standard there. Traditional white face makeup called oshiroi, which was used by geishas, kabuki actors, and samurai children in some eras, often contained lead carbonate, which causes lead poisoning over time. Lead-based oshiroi was outlawed in Japan in the early 20th century and 1934 for certain lead forms. So why? Why go to such lengths to achieve beauty? Even now, people go to big lengths to conform to these beauty standards, which are ever-changing, even if some of these procedures are dangerous, like we just talked about earlier. People would do Bbls, even though it is one of the most dangerous procedures out there, with a mortality rate of 0.03%. People starve themselves or use drugs such as Ozempic, which tend to have drastic side effects such as pancreatitis and dehydration that may lead to kidney problems in order to be skinny, because skinny is apparently back in. And Ozempic is actually facing a $2 billion lawsuit. And I feel like this, going to the extremes for beauty, will continue as the beauty standards continue to evolve. And a majority of these toxic beauty standards were aimed at women. Yes, men too are also affected by beauty standards to some capacity, but I found that male beauty standards tend to be more performance-based, and I will give examples. Whereas for women, they are often pressured into painful, restrictive, or body-altering practices like the corsets, Bbls, and dangerous cosmetic procedures since centuries ago. For men, it is usually performance-based due to patriarchal view of men as providers and protectors. So think of warriors, and it is not even a must that they abide. But for a woman to go far, she must be the utmost beautiful based on the current beauty standard. Our patriarchal society usually rewards men for doing almost nothing, like they can be rough-looking and ugly, and they will still get a job. As for women, they are judged based on their looks, even in workspaces. People may prefer working with women who look a certain way. Example, I saw in South Korea the reason why many young women there feel the need to get plastic surgery. It is because if you are ugly, you may get bullied or even not get chosen for the job which you are qualified for. There is even a K-drama about this. If you are pretty, you are able to get into high society. But for men, the bar is just so low. Like, you can see an ugly man with a very beautiful woman, but rarely an ugly woman with a beautiful man or a rich one. And I say this lightly because beauty is and will forever be subjective. Kind of like the beautiful Mursi and Surma tribes of Ethiopia. If you have a larger lip plate, you are deemed as more beautiful, more desirable, thus more capable of enduring hardships. It is all a matter of perception and how society works. And what I find interesting is that men are often judged by status, wealth, or achievements more than appearance. That's why you'll see a rough-looking, ugly man with money or power still considered desirable. His looks are secondary. So yeah, beauty standards have always been toxic. I don't see them changing anytime soon, and they just keep evolving and being branded into other forms. And what is sad is that women are the one who suffer because they feel the need to attain them in order to, one, fit into society, and two, get ahead in life and be successful. What do you guys think? Will they ever change?